record. Okay. All right. So anyways, the essential questions you can just answer. So, you know, how are muscles named? We know they're named for location, direction, and some other things. But for describe the process of muscle fatigue, that is going to be an essay format. You know, 4 to 6 sentences, 2 to 3 paragraphs. Okay, it's not that bad. Muscle fatigue, you can get easily a couple of paragraphs out of that. And it has to be in your words. Don't copy and paste something you get from the internet. Okay, so that is the essential questions. I want to make sure you guys know what that assignment is. And there'll be one for every unit, okay? Muscle labeling. If you did not make a 100 on the muscle labeling, you can go back and take those as many times as you want for the highest grade. So make sure you do that. I'm going to use, what class am I in? First period. Let me change to second period because he let me use it in second period. So I'm sure he's not going to mind if I do it this time. I'm going to try to hurry up and get to right here. I don't want everybody seeing everybody's grades. Okay, so as you can see, I put a comment in here. Make sure when you're looking at your grades that you also read your comments. Sometimes it might say, check your email, meaning I sent you an email that is saying, hey, you missed a page. Like some people missed a page, did 2 of the 3 pages for the skeletal labeling. The other thing about the comments is I might put in there that number 2 and number 4 are wrong. If it's still not due until tomorrow, go back and correct number 2 and number 4 and try to get that 100. Okay, so I try to check them as they come in so that you guys do have that time to make corrections and get 100s. Okay, I want a lot of people passing. Check your emails. Okay, make sure you're looking at anything that comes from me. And then the last thing is sharing. So when you got, and I know I've been through this, but what you guys, some of you are doing is when you share with me, you're actually putting it up here, which is fine. The only problem is when you share it with me, every time you do that, I'm getting an email from you. So one person, you know, is not bad. Like second period, I had a person that had to share them with me because she was having troubles uploading the assignment. But if 30 of you do it, then every assignment I'm getting 30 emails. And so then I have to check my email and say, okay, Peyton sent me an email. Did she submit it in Canvas? And so I'm double doing the work. So what I'd rather you do is to go down here and click on anyone with the link and just make it a viewer, okay? That way nobody can change anything. And then you copy the link and that's how you submit it, okay? It's just a suggestion. And basically it's just to make my life easier. Any questions on any of that I just went over? All right, then let's go ahead and get into the muscular system. And the notes I'm going to do just like I did on Friday. I think I did it with you guys Friday, where I copied and pasted it. Did I do that with you guys? I copied it and I put it in the chat and you guys just copied and pasted. I'm doing the same thing. It's a lot easier. All right, so muscle actions. Basically, you've got a group of muscles that work together to produce a single movement. So you have a prime mover that moves in a single direction. Well, then you have that antagonist. You know, think of somebody that antagonizes you. They're just bothering you. They're waiting for a reaction. So an antagonist moves in the opposite direction of the prime mover. Well, we need that person to, you know, that one person, hey, everything's going to be all right. You know, calm down, you guys. That's the synergist of the muscle. Okay, that's what steadies the movement and helps to stabilize a joint. That way it's not doing all this, okay? Now a flexor muscle is one that does exactly what it says, it flexes. So if my arm is at this angle, which is what degree? 180 degrees, right? Okay. If I flex, I am decreasing that angle. So I've gone from 180 to 90. Okay. So I've got flexor muscles that all they do is flex. Then I have extensor muscles that do the opposite. They extend. So to extend, extension means to increase the angle. So I'm going from this 90-degree angle to 180, okay? And so those are some muscle action groups. Now, types of contractions. Isotonic. This is an isotonic contraction, okay? My muscles are contracting. I couldn't tell you which ones are working to do this. And I'm creating a movement, all right? That's isotonic. Isometric is this. My muscles are contracted, but no movement is being created, okay? Remember that skeletal muscles I talked about last week where they contract easily, but contract quickly, fatigue easily. I will not be able to hold this up. It'll start, going down, okay? But this is an isometric contraction. Tightens, but no movement. All right, so skeletal muscle functions. Skeletal muscles are voluntary. The main thing our skeletal muscles do is they produce body heat. So our body temperature is 98.6 degrees. Varies, okay? Some people will live with a body temperature of 97.8, okay? But normal body temperature is 98.6. If I were to go out and run a mile right now, what would my body temperature do? Go up or go down? It would go up, right? But it's not going to go to a degree that, is going to fry my brain. But I can't expect my body temperature to go up because I am working my skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles also produce movement. So us right now, we're picking our nails, I'm moving my fingers, people are on their phone. That's being done by our skeletal muscles. And then maintain our posture. Look at all of us right now. Who's sitting up nice and straight? Okay, I am now. But that is, one thing I catch myself all the time, especially in the morning. I do this all the time. I'm sitting here on the computer and then I'll do this. And before I know it, I'm slouching again. So that's the skeletal muscle functions. Let me come back to this. Smooth muscle functions, involuntary, okay? Basically, theirs is called peristalsis. And this is in the digestive system as well as the urinary system. Peristalsis is how food gets from the back of our throat through our whole digestive system to our anus, okay? It moves it's like a wave-like motion, okay? So these are contractions, just kind of keep moving, pushing things down, all right? The blood vessels, we know that smooth muscle is in the blood vessels. That's used for vasoconstriction, which means what? Get bigger or get smaller? Smaller, right. To constrict means to get smaller. Vasodilation, bigger or smaller? Bigger. Bigger, correct. And then lastly is the cardiac muscle. This is involuntary. Again, very specialized. You're only going to find it in the heart. And its main purpose, main function is to pump the blood, okay? Why do we need to pump the blood? Because blood carries oxygen and all of our organs, cells, tissues, everything in our body requires oxygen. So let's go back to these movements. So flexion, we already talked about that. We're decreasing that angle, 80 to 45. Extension, we're increasing the angle from, that's not 45, from 90 to 180, okay? Abduction and adduction. Now, there was a mistake on the quiz, and I did try to correct those two. So if I didn't get to yours, go back and look and see if those two are counted wrong. If they're counted wrong, send me an email, okay? So I can go back and correct it. Abduction, ABD, is to move away from, okay? So we're moving away from. Whereas adduction, ADD, we're adding to. It's moving towards, okay? So doing jumping jacks, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction, okay? Circumduction is this. The ability to rotate my arm like this. You can do it with your hip as well, okay? That is called circumduction. Pronation, we know what prone is. To lie prone in the bed is to lie face down. Supination, to lie supine in the bed is to lie face up. So if I were to turn my palm like this, that's pronation. Okay, so I just pronated my palm. Supination is doing this, thank you. Okay, turning my palm up. And then the last one is rotation. Okay, rotating your head to say no. It is moving on an axis. And we know the very first vertebrae, cervical vertebrae, is an axis. It's an axis and an atlas. They move together. All right, diseases. Fibromyalgia is a disease that they really don't know why it occurs or how it starts. Some say it may be triggered by a trauma, so kind of one of those post-traumatic stress disorder things, surgery, infection, or stress, okay? I have fibromyalgia. Mine comes from Lyme disease. And we're in this constant cycle right here, and that's why I had to take last Thursday and Friday off. The stress was overwhelming. I had this brain fog. And I had to break that cycle, so I took a break. I'm better now. But if you continue down this cycle, it's never ending. But if you can break it, then you can kind of get back to your normal life. But anything can send you right back into that, circling the drain type of thing. How you treat it is you treat the symptoms. Lots of times with muscular disorders, if you look at different muscular disorders, other than what I'm going to talk about, you're treating symptoms. There's no cure. You just treat symptoms. Hernia. Hernia is basically so remember, our skull protects our brain, ribs and sternum protect our heart and lungs. Our skeletal muscle is what protects our abdominal contents. Well, we can get a weak spot in our abdominal wall. And as that abdominal muscle gets weaker, then say here, small intestine starts to push out, okay? And you can see it can actually come all the way out and create this lump. Now, should the skeletal muscle squeeze on that lump, then this intestine can actually die because it's squeezing not just that small intestine, but it's squeezing the small blood vessels and it's cutting off blood supply, okay? Now, these three here, these are basically what you would call in your groin area, G-R-O-I-N, okay? So remember the iliac region with the 9 abdominal regions? The iliac region, I told you to also remember inguinal and groin. This is the reason, okay? So these are called inguinal hernias here, but they're in the iliac region, okay? But they also call it inguinal and groin. An umbilical hernia, you usually see these in infants. Think about the umbilical cord. That's where all the blood was going back and forth between mom and baby. They cut it off, so that muscle has not grown back together and become nice and tight, just like our skull. So if a baby cries too much or they strain too hard, they get constipated, then they can actually, that umbilical, it can just pop out. And I mean, I've seen some pop out 2 and 3 inches high. Treatment for this is surgery. So remember I told you most muscular, treatments are treat the symptoms. For this one, it is surgery. Muscle spasms, this is called involuntary hypertonicity. And we've probably all had these. Middle of the night, you wake up, your calf muscle is rock hard. Your toes are, going in directions you never thought possible. And nothing, you try to move your foot one way and it just makes it worse, right? So you holler out to mom. Mom comes in and she starts to massage it and it kind of goes away. What does mom usually tell you to eat? What'd you say? Mustard, yep, that's one. Another one? Pickle juice. Bananas. Okay, all of those have high potassium in them. And so the reason for this muscle spasm could be that you did not, it's not called flex, stretch well enough before an exercise, you overworked the muscle, you didn't drink enough water, or you have an electrolyte imbalance. Okay, potassium being one of them. Yes, mustard does have quite a bit of potassium in them. The symptoms, pain, that doesn't even describe it. So treatment, usually you stretch it, you massage it, apply ice. Remember the rice, rest, ice, compression, elevation, and then rehydrate, meaning drink lots of water. So for the athletes out there, make sure you're stretching before you go out and, start exercising, especially in heat like this, and drink plenty of water. Muscular dystrophy, this is a genetic disorder. Children, they're usually born normal. I don't want, sound odd, but, normal, like most children. But then somewhere along the way, it's like a key gets turned on and the muscular dystrophy kicks in. They start to stumble at times. Maybe they're not walking straight lines. They might trip and fall. You take them to the doctor and then you find out that they have muscular dystrophy. So basically what you get is atrophy of the muscles. So if you remember, atrophy means without growth. So their muscles are kind of wasting away. For the most part, children with muscular dystrophy will live a normal lifespan, meaning, they'll live a normal age. But they may have to use crutches or some type of walking device or even a wheelchair for the rest of their life. There is one, so you can see here, no cure, you're treating the symptoms only. There is one called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and that is a deadly muscular dystrophy. Tetanus, this is also called lockjaw, and you can see the reason why. This is one of the very first symptoms. Look at this little guy here. He's got his jaws locked, okay? You cannot unclench the jaws. Once a muscle contracts, you will not be able to relax that muscle. It is caused by a bacteria called Clostridium tetani. So the only thing that treats bacteria are antibiotics. Okay, antibiotics do not treat viruses. They do not treat funguses. Bacteria only. Basically, it enters through a puncture wound. So, maybe you stepped on a rusty nail. The bacteria itself comes from the dirt. It lives in the dirt. So it's not from the rusty nail itself. It's from the rusty nail that was in the dirt that has given you tetanus. Basically, treatment are antibiotics, and then you manage the complications. It is very rare in the United States to see this any longer, because we do have a vaccine for it. You should get vaccinated every 7 to 10 years. Definitely get vaccinated if you do step on a nail. Hurricane situations is, when we have flooding, though, that's another time people will get vaccinated. In the 15 years I worked at the hospital, I took care of one person with tetanus. Stepped on a nail, basically, didn't go see a doctor for 3 or 4 days, ended up in the hospital with lockjaw. We had her in the intensive care unit where we medically paralyzed her and sedated her. Because if we didn't paralyze her, then her muscles would be contracted like that. By paralyzing her, everything relaxed. Every morning, they would wean down the paralytics to see what her muscles would do. If they start to contract again, they would put her back, raise the paralytics back up again. We did that for 2 weeks until it was, the antibiotics had time to finally get rid of the bacteria. But it took her 4 months after that to actually get better. Meaning in that 2 weeks time, her muscles had atrophied. She had to learn how to walk again and use, basically do your basic functioning of eating, writing with a pencil, because her muscles atrophied. Tendinitis. This is an inflammation of the tendons. This picture here is not a very good tendon picture because it actually looks like it's torn. Tendinitis is where you have a small tear or just an inflammation of the tendon. You'll see it in the elbow with tennis elbow, and then a rotator cuff disease in like tennis players, baseball pitchers. Yeah, so basically you've overused that muscle and that tendon. Treatment is rice, rest and ice, and NSAIDs. This is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So things like ibuprofen, Advil, aspirin. Okay, those are non-steroidals. Now, somebody asked earlier, well, you can get a shot, right? Yes, you can get a shot, but that shot is a steroid shot. Okay, so it's not an NSAID. So yeah, and usually when you have damage to a tendon, it does take a long time to heal. And then the last one is a strain. Remember last module was a sprain. We had a tear in our ligament. This one we have a tear in our muscle or the tendon. And basically, there's different grades. You can have a grade 1, 2, 3, or 4. A grade 4 is complete separation of the muscle. So, if we're looking at the gastrocnemius, which is your calf muscle, it would be torn in half. That's a severe tear. Treatment is, again, rice, the NSAIDs, splints, and braces. Okay, so that is it for our Google Slides. So go ahead, and I need you guys to sign into Zoom, because that's the only way this is going to work. Sign into Zoom and get your 2.02 note guide out. And we're going to do just like we did on Friday. So let me open up the chat button. You're fine. I got people waiting here. Oh, that's you guys. What am I talking about? People waiting. Now, as soon as we finish these notes, I need you guys to submit them because these are due tonight. Okay, I know I've got more people than there's Brooke, Rebecca, Claire, Peyton, Chelsea, Oh, there we go, Claire, Peyton, Ashlyn. Ashlyn, you finished, didn't you? Okay, then you're good. Chelsea, did you finish? Okay, then you're good. Then I think I've got everybody. All right. Claire, are you up here? All righty. So we're going to start with skeletal. Now, every time I actually post something, I need somebody to come back and say, okay. All right, so this is under muscle function skeletal. So all you're going to do is copy that and paste it onto your skeletal. Does everybody know how to do that? Okay, I need somebody to say okay. Thank you, Precious. Oh, I said her name. Thank you, PW. All right, so this is smooth muscle function. Remember, it is involuntary. This one is cardiac. This is also involuntary. Now the fourth muscle is the sphincter muscle. And basically that's just a dilator and a constrictor. Opens and closes. Okay, is everybody good here? Okay, so where's your chat box? All right, so, and you copied that? Okay, how do you copy? Do you know? Yeah, so highlight that and then copy it. And then go back to the note guide and you scroll down and put it right there. Okay, and then go get the other ones. Yeah, so that one is the smooth muscle. And that one is cardiac. All right. So now we're going to move on to muscle diseases and disorders. So this first one is fibromyalgia. So just copy that and put it in the fibromyalgia box. All right, the next one is hernia. Everybody good? Okay. This next one is muscle spasm. This one is muscular dystrophy. What's that black thing on the bottom there? Oh, it went away. Okay. This one is tetanus. Figured this was a lot easier than sitting here typing it out. Seeing how I've already talked about it. But then the only thing it does is, you know, people who learn by writing things out, they're not getting that, you know, if that's how they, because some people learn by listening and seeing, then some people have to write the things out. And so by just copying and pasting, they're not learning. All right, this one is tendinitis. Yours did?
Yeah, I'm back in now, but I don't have the past 2 ones.
Oh, okay. Actually, this here is wrong. Delete. Let me go back to the, we can go back up there, Mason. Where's my here? Okay, and then this one is strain. Which one did you get stuck at, Mason?
I don't have tetanus and the other ones.
All right, tetanus. Okay, when I scroll it, does your chat scroll also?
No.
Okay, so look for the lockjaw one. So scroll up and see lockjaw.
I don't see the, since it crashed, it deleted all the old chat.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Then I'll just put the new chat back up there. You can still see the chat though, yes?
Yeah, I can see it. You might just have to copy and paste it again.
No problem. All right. So I just, that one's tetanus that I just put up there. Mm-hmm. What was the other one? Tendinitis. Are you serious? Yours does that a lot because I noticed that sometimes all of a sudden you pop back in. Okay, did you get tetanus though?
I did get tetanus.
Okay, I'll wait for you to get back up. All right, does anybody at home have any questions? Do I need to move up for anybody? I'm gonna stop share just for a second so I can get, I think I just have 2 people at home. Yeah, okay. If you're done, you can leave, yeah. All right, so my 2 people who are home, if you don't have any questions for me, then I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, review questions are due, so we'll go over those in class. So make sure you have those done before class. You ready, Mason? Okay, so here is tendinitis. And yes, those of you in class, if you're finished, you can go ahead and leave as well.
So what's your other than that?
Just the note guide.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. You have everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miles,
Yes.
I noticed you're missing some things. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Let me go stop recording.